All right, today we're going to talk about Photoshop, learning some of the basic tools of Photoshop. Number one, the tool that looks like a hand holding an invisible match and is used to manually darken a portion of an image. All these things are long sentences, but I went ahead and came up with an idea that if that icon kind of looks like you're holding an invisible match, you would use it to burn something. So it's actually called the burn tool. Another way of thinking of it is, if I take like this white piece of paper and I burn it, what color does it turn? Charcoal, right, turns dark. It goes dark, it goes black. And so that's how you darken something. So you can click on a part of the image and darken it. I'm going to show you how to do all these things after we get through the study guide. We're just going to burn through the study guide first. Number two, name these two tools that are hard to tell apart. These two are actually closely related, but these both look like lollipops. That one looks more like a lollipop than that one. That's called Dodge, D-O-D-G-E, the Dodge tool, and that's the Zoom tool. What does it look like? Yep, a magnifying glass. Sherlock Holmes looking at something close. Use the Zoom tool to zoom in on an image and edit it when you're like looking at something, like maybe you're looking at someone's eyeballs. You zoom in on it so you can see their eyeball a little more clearly and put some makeup on it, whatever, on the eyeball. The Dodge and the Burn tool are closely related because they go back to the days of working in a darkroom. So let's say that I got my tray here of my chemicals and I'm exposing my film, and I can actually do this with a little bit of artistic talent. Kind of like to burn the edges a little more, maybe create a vignette look. I'll explain that another time. Anyway, that was called doing burning and dodging, and they're holdovers, and we still talk about them today. So if burn darkens an image, what do you think dodge does? I almost didn't say the right word. That's right, dodge brightens it. Okay. But don't be fooled by these. They're going to try to fool you and trick you on the state test. They're going to try to get you to say that one of these is like the other. They'll say that one's the Zoom tool. It ain't. That one's the Zoom tool. Make sure you know the difference. What tool allows the selection of a border with a dotted line that snaps to the edge of an image? I told you these are all long sentences. So the idea is that, like this border down here, it's an obvious contrast to white. If I use this tool, the magnetic lasso, that's what it looks like, horseshoe magnet. If I click right here, I can just kind of move my cursor along and it'll automatically snap to that edge. I don't have to be a perfect artist. I don't have to draw a perfect straight line. Okay, what tool would you use to wrap someone's knuckles? You thought I had this yardstick out to point with. I'm going to wrap someone's knuckles. What tool would you use to quickly select all color-related pixels? The magic wand. You're going to do that today with your zombie photo. So I could, I don't know, we'll just say that I'm going to click right here, and that magic wand tool will select all those colors that are connected, all the pixels that are connected that same color. Magic wand. Number 5, 100% transparency is the opposite of 100% opacity. Have you ever heard of something being opaque? If it's opaque, you can't see through it. Like several pages, I can't see through. But maybe one page, that projector will kind of shine through a little bit. It's a little bit more transparent. Opacity, do I have it spelled up there anywhere? I don't. I'll spell it for you. O-P-A, city, C-I-T-Y. This tool, like the clone and stamp tool, is useful for working on skin blemishes. It's called the Spot Healing Brush. Interesting name. And what does it look like? What does the icon look like? No, it's not a Band-Aid. It's a bandage. Band-Aid's a brand. We all use it, right? Just like I'm going to go blow my nose with some Kleenex. That's a brand. Anyway, not to sidetrack too much. That heals by, let's say I got a big zit in the middle of my forehead. if I click on that zit with the spot healing brush, and what's going to do is it's going to blend in all the pixels around it, and what it'll do is essentially it'll take that zit and just kind of blend it into my other skin tones, and voila, it's gone. I use it every morning when I get in front of the mirror before I apply my makeup. The Polygonal Lasso tool. Who can say polygonal? That's a good word. The Polygonal Lasso tool selects an area with multi-sided straight lines. I spelled straight for you. It's one of those great English words that has two useless letters in it. Actually, straight without the GH is also a word. It's for like going through the Narrows, the Straits of Gibraltar. Okay, the Polygonal Lasso tool, the Magic Wand tool, others, that one right there, the Magnetic Lasso tool, they are all found, I'm going to teach you more about this, but they're all found up here. They're all selection tools. And if you click on that one, you can actually see behind it, there's the regular lasso tool and there's the Polygonal Lasso tool. The reason you'd use the Polygonal Lasso tool is if you want to draw straight lines. You click, and then you click and it draws a straight line. You click and you click. You can have all kinds of straight lines as opposed to freehanding it, which again, I can't draw straight very well. Selecting an area often creates moving dashed lines. So when you're doing a selection, you'll have these moving dashed lines. Some silly people affectionately refer to this as marching ants. I put in the A-N-T-S there for you. Not the uncles and aunts. Keyboard strokes to remove the moving dashed lines of a selected area. So you guys are going to do this. You're going to create that selection like you've got the lasso tool and you've selected it. And then you've done whatever you want to do with it. Maybe you've copied and pasted, or maybe you've just darkened that area, whatever. But those moving dashed lines are still there. That animated dotted line is still... Mr. Walker, how do I get rid of it? Control or Command, depending on whether you're on a PC or Mac, and the letter D. D for dotted line, or D for dashed line, whichever you prefer. If I'm on a Windows computer or PC, I use Control. If I'm on a Mac, I use Command. Now that we have Macs in the room, I've got to start using my brain and saying Command, and I keep forgetting. What tool do you use to write letters on your image? The horizontal type tool. It's also sometimes called the text tool. In Photoshop, it's called the type tool. I think it's in Adobe Premiere and other Adobe software applications. They call it the text tool. But you should remember it as the type tool, T-Y-P-E. All you do is you click on that icon. You see it over there? This is Photoshop behind, by the way. I never explained that. Click on that, and then when you click right on your canvas, it'll automatically create a new layer and start typing. When using the clone stamp tool, that was what I said earlier, wasn't it? Where I said that you could also use the clone stamp tool to get rid of a zip. I'll explain it in a second. When using the clone stamp tool, select an area to duplicate by holding down the Alt or Option key and clicking with the mouse. And then what do you do to stamp? First of all, the Alt or Option key. If you're on a Windows PC, which key is it? Alt. That's right. On a Mac, use Option. Okay, so I teach everyone to be a mouse and a keyboard editor. So with your right hand, especially if you're right-handed, but even if you're not, you probably ought to just get used to it. With your right hand, you're moving your mouse around and you're clicking. With your left hand, you're getting used to some keystrokes. In this particular case, you're getting used to the Option key. So I take my clone stamp tool, and let's just say we're going to clone this. So I hover over it, and then I hit Option with my left hand, and I click with my mouse, and boom, I've sampled that, or I've cloned that. Now I've got it loaded up, and I can move that anywhere I want, and then just by clicking with my index finger or whatever, click, it stamps it. So I load it up, I clone it by hitting Option, click on it, and then I click. That is, of course, after I've selected that, which is right there. That looks like a stamp like you'd go to Lagoon and they'd stamp your hand, or Disneyland. See, I got the stamp, I can come back in. Why would you select the Control or Command and Z key to undo the last step? Oh, Mr. Walker, I didn't mean to do that. I lost the whole thing. No, you didn't. Just hit Command Z. Of course, if you're on a PC, I should say, you'd use Control. On a Mac, it's Command Z. Command Z, and it goes back a step, okay, to undo the last step. The tool that samples colors in an image. So I want that yellow color right there, and I want to play with it. I like that yellow color. How do I get that? How do I sample that and work with it? You use the eyedropper tool. Tell me if you see the eyedropper tool over here. Yep, that's it. I don't know if you guys have ever seen eyedroppers. Anyway, that's the icon. And so I click on that, and then I come and I click on that yellow, and it loads it up in my colors, which are kind of off the screen. But I've got my color swatches there, and then I can like take a brush and I can just start coloring with that color yellow after I've sampled it. And voila, the next one is, what tool does this icon represent? A brush. I think you guys know how to spell eyedropper. E-Y-E-D-R-O-P-P-E-R. Doesn't look like it works. And brush. Okay, now I want to change the size of whatever I'm cloning, or whatever I'm brushing, or whatever my selection is. What keys can be used to quickly change the size of brushes in Photoshop? Let's show you on the keyboard here. Again, this is why you might have your left hand hovering over the keyboard so that you can hit these bracket keys. Brackets. The bracket keys are found right above the return or the enter, depending on whether you're on a PC or a Mac. And if you hit the left one, it makes your selection size smaller. If you hit the right one, it makes it bigger. So if I'm going to clone this brush and my size is like ginormous, then I hit that left bracket key, right? And it makes it smaller so I can just grab just the brush. Okay, what is a method for drawing straight lines in Photoshop? Well, you can try. I can try to just, with my freehand, just try to draw a straight line. I'm not going to be that good. I'm not Hegstead. So the other method is, while you've got, say, the brush, you can hit the Shift key. Again, with your left hand, you hit the Shift key, hold it down, and then you drag. So it's Shift and drag. So I click somewhere, I hit Shift, and I drag, and it's automatically a straight line. And then I can drag again, and it'll draw straight lines for me. What can you do with the crop tool? Adjust the size of an image. That's the crop tool. You click on it, and it gives you little handles, and you can grab those handles and move in and just crop what you want in a photo. With me, you don't want my belly, so you crop up a little bit to flatter me so I look a little better. This is not on the state test, but I just think you really ought to learn it. This word is on the state test, so this is how I teach you the function that is useful, by teaching you the word saturation. Use Control Command, which one is it on a Mac? Command, and the U key to adjust the intensity of color. So, once I get that tool up, I can then slide the bar to the right, and I'm bringing out the colors a lot more, like neon, like Disney cartoon. So if that's dragging it to the right, what happens if I drag that tool all the way to the left? What does it do to the colors? It desaturates, it takes out all the color. And that's how you get a black and white photo. You might as well shoot in color just in case you ever want color, but to make it a black and white photo, you just take the color out with the saturation tool. And how do you select a new layer, and where does it appear in the layer palette? I'm going to show you what I think is the fastest way. I got to bring it up on the screen. So there's always 2, 3, 4 ways to do anything in Photoshop and in most software applications. But I think the fastest way is just to click on that. You've already got your mouse, you're working along. You click on this little icon that looks like a page that's been folded over. Some people call it a dog-eared page. When you click on that, here in your layer palette, it automatically adds a layer. So the question is, where does it add that layer? At the top or at the bottom? It adds it above whatever your active layer is. And I'll explain that some more. All these things you're learning for the first time. You're going to be frustrated for a couple weeks trying to get your hands and your mind on all this stuff. But that's what you do to get a new layer. Whatever layer is active, click on that. It puts you up a new layer and you can go to work. And the last question said, the magic wand, the rectangle marquee tool, all those things are examples of what? Selection tools. Selection tools. I added that up there. I didn't mean to put a 20 on there. That's Microsoft Word automatically doing something for me. But some people didn't get the rectangle marquee tool. It might have been on the state test or whatever. We didn't use that much. So I actually put that on there to make sure you know that's one of the things. Happens to be right there. It looks like that. Elliptical or circular, it looks like that. And they're all called selection tools. Why? Because they're used for selecting things. You're selecting pixels. You're selecting an area. So they're called selection tools. Okay, let's actually do the zombie photo now. Let's work in Photoshop. On your computer desktop, you have a zombie folder. If you don't, someone deleted it, and I'm going to delete them. Don't mess with it except for that you need to use the stuff that's in there. You're going to, I'm going to show you how to do this, and I'm going to teach you one more time. But right now on this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do the zombie photo, and you'll also learn a lot of the Photoshop tools by doing this exercise. So double click on the zombie folder, open it up, and in here you've got several backgrounds that are already going to work. They've been vetted, they've been tested, they work pretty well. Here you've got the instructions. And part of what you do in your curriculum is you are supposed to be reading and writing every day and even doing some math. So yes, you get to look at the instructions yourself and try to follow them the best you can. Can you follow written instructions? Can you read a manual? But the first thing you're going to do is you're going to drag in, I'm going to just cheat a little bit, I'm going to show you this in a second, but the first thing you're going to do is you drag in one of these. It's not that important, this isn't perfect this time, you might do another one, but go ahead and choose which one you think is your favorite one to put yourself in front of. You're going to put your face and like 3/4 of your body, not the whole body there, in front of one of these backgrounds. And then you're going to follow all these instructions. That's what that PDF document looks like. So which one do you want to use? You guys want to do the Walking with the Dead, huh? Alright, so I drug it in there, and I don't know why it made it so huge. So you drag it in, then you hit enter. Now this one, I had a background, my canvas wasn't sized right, but I don't care, I can always crop stuff. So eventually we'll crop it so that we get rid of the white on the top and the bottom. That's not too important for right now. I'm just going to teach you this one right now. To make something bigger on the screen, you can use the zoom tool, or you can also do command and plus and minus on the keyboard, whichever you prefer. One of the things we'll learn is the zoom tool. It happens to be Z for zoom. Is that the zoom tool? No, they try to trick you. That's the dodge tool. That's the zoom tool. So I can click on that, and then I can go click on my canvas and make it bigger. Okay, what you're supposed to do next though is drag in your photo. So I got this green dude here. That's what we call him. Your photo won't quite look like that, but it'll be pretty close. And I can resize it right now, just like the crop tool. You see how it puts these little handles on here. So obviously he's going to be a little small in comparison to the sheriff and whoever that other character is. So I'm going to make him bigger. Just right now. It's not that important, but we're going to do it. And then I'm going to hit enter. Alright. Oh yeah, and then you can also move these little bars around if you want to. Okay, the first thing we have to do before we can even do any editing is what is called Rasterize. So we go up to the Layer pull-down menu. Up at the top there it says Layer. You pull down and you see Rasterize. Rasterize commits all the pixels so you can start editing them. So you go Rasterize, and you might as well hit all layers just so you can edit all layers. Otherwise it says, I'm not going to let you edit until you rasterize. Funny term, huh? Okay, next step is to get rid of the green. I'm going to use a selection tool. Guess which one? The magic wand. I'm over here. Tell me when I stop on the magic wand. Or tell me when I stop. Tell me to stop. Yep. The magic wand looks different than the one that I put on your paper. That is what the magic wand looks like now. It's not as pretty as the one that Harry Potter used to use. But that's the new icon. You click on that, and now I typically click fairly close to the face when I've done a green screen, but they did a really good job with this, so it doesn't matter where I click. Oh, one more thing. Set your tolerance, apparently I did this recently, set your tolerance to 80. That's saying how much it's going to try to get all the green. So if I only had my tolerance at 1, it might get like a few pixels, but it wouldn't get the whole image. If I set my tolerance to 100, it might just grab everything, including him, and delete it. But I want like 80% tolerance on what's green, and this is more than good enough for this one, but yours won't be as good. So I clicked on it. You see how we got those dotted lines? The ants go marching. Okay, that is selecting all the green. I clicked on it, it's going to all the contiguous pixels that are green. And what's going to happen if I hit delete? It deleted the green. But now I still got those animated dotted lines. Walker, I want to get rid of it. Who remembers? That's right. Command and the letter D for dotted. And they're gone. And there he is. Now he doesn't look all that great right now. He needs to be bigger. But I'm not going to mess with that because I want to get through this tutorial. Underneath this icon, this magnetic lasso, are 3 others. The lasso tool, the polygonal, the magnetic. I guess I'll go back to the magnetic. So if there was something that is obvious, which isn't too obvious in this, but I could probably select him against the blue sky. So if I click here, and then I just kind of move around his head, it automatically is trying to magnetically snap to the border of his face. And I'm just going to cheat. Okay, so that's a selection. I could also grab the rectangle marquee tool and make a square selection of something. There's the elliptical behind it. That would be a circular selection. And then the polygonal. Remember what it does? Straight. So it draws straight lines if I want to grab something straight. Let's hit Command D and get out of that. Let's say that I want to grab this container in the background. It'll do more than that, but that's a useful way to do it. With the Polygonal Lasso tool, I go straight. I don't have to freehand it. Straight down, straight across, straight up for no reason. And I got it. Now, I'm on this layer over here. See where the layer palette? I'm on the green dude. So if I hit delete, it's not going to do nothing. Because there's nothing to delete. Well, deleted some of his arms. See that? So I didn't mean to do that, so I hit Command Z. And I click on this layer, because this is the layer that I want to delete. This is the active layer now. So now I hit delete, and I got rid of a lot of stuff, including whatever. What was that, like a train car or a building? I don't even know what it was. Okay, undo, Command Z. Yeah, it's just like a building. Command D to get rid of the dotted line. Okay, we did magic wand, some selection tools. That's the crop tool. I should do it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to speed up the eyedropper. Let's sample a color. Let's say we like that color right there. Did you see where it put it? I put it right in there. Now let's grab the brush tool, and we can draw with it. Got the wrong layer again. Okay, I am drawing some graffiti on the guy. The clone stamp tool. We're going to clone his eye. Remember the brackets, by the way? If I bracket bigger, I can get his whole head. You guys want me to get his head? Okay, I'll get his head and I'll stamp over on the darkly complected guy. All right, so am I on the right layer? Yes, I am. So who remembers, how do I actually clone it? Sample it, load it up. That's right, the Option key and then click. Okay, now I got his head. Can you see that? And I'm going to paste it over on his head. I just click and I paste it. Wasn't a very good job, but I did it. Okay, that's the clone stamp. That's the eraser tool. That's useful. Let's say I want to erase what I just did. That's the eraser tool. Depending on how much opacity, I've got it at 100%, so it'll erase it really fast. But I could just erase it a little bit. I could show both of their heads. And I erased it, and he's still there a little bit. Or I can just make sure I erase the whole thing. Okay? I don't need to worry about that. The dodge and the burn tools, those are sort of fun. We can use those. Let's burn something. So we do the burn, and we give the dude a suntan. Let's see, we're still on the right layer. Okay, always got to make sure. And he's darker. Oh, Mr. Walker, he doesn't look better than being just a pasty white guy. Let's just make him pasty white again. In fact, even more white. Wow! An albino ghost. Okay, that's dodge and burn. Which one does what? Dodge brightens it, burn darkens it. The text tool, remember I told you right here I got 3 layers. If I start to type, if I click on here with the text tool, what's going to happen? Boom. Okay, it started to type. And it added a layer over here. Automatically adds a layer. Oh, who remembers how to add a new layer? That thing right down there, right? By the way, I can click up here and get my normal cursor back, or I can hit the V key, because the V kind of looks like an upside down arrow. So I remember to hit V, and then if I'm on this layer down here, see me down here walking with the dead, I'm on the background layer. If I'm on that layer and I click this little page corner thing, it adds a new layer where? Yeah, you guessed it, right above the last active layer. Click, there it is. Now I've got another layer. Now I can move that layer up here. That layer is now above the green dude and everything else except for the text. Ooh, let's put it above the text. No, it doesn't want to do it that way. I'll put the text underneath it then. Okay. Now you see there's that text there. What happens if I draw with my brush? Let's see, the brush is, yeah, it's got a dark enough color. And I'm going to bracket it, make it bigger. So I'm on a layer above the text. What's going to happen? Yep, I covered the text. I just hit Command S to save it. Tutorial. The hand tool is kind of useful. H for hand, I can just move the image around, grab it. And then who remembers what this one is? The zoom tool, right? So I'm going to zoom in so I can get a closer look at him. And now we're going to paste his mouth on his forehead because I can see what I'm doing. So tell me when I get to the clone stamp tool. Bam, the stamp tool. That's too big, bracket size, bracket left. Grab his lips. Option, click. Loaded up his, oh, I didn't, see, because I'm on the wrong layer. You're going to do that a million times, just like Walker did. Now I'm on the right layer. Okay, option, click, got his lips, and a little bit of his nose, and I'm going to make that guy so much better looking than he was right now. He's got lips on his forehead. Okay, that's it for the standards of Photoshop. You'll learn some more. Those are the main things they want you to learn for the state test, and you can really get around on Photoshop quite well by just learning those tools. Get to work.